Hi there, it's Nicole from Mama Elephant, and today's card showcases the new Botanic Hello stamp set. I've used it here to create a embossed card with watercolored florals. This stamp set is incredible. It's a big, bold hello greeting with beautiful florals behind it. To start the card, I'm going to stamp this large greeting on a white cardstock base. I'm using some Bristol Smooth cardstock, which is a nice white cardstock here. I'm using this because I'm going to do a little watercoloring, and I like how this looks a little bit better than a smooth white cardstock. It'll be a little more forgiving with watercoloring. You could also definitely use watercolor cardstock if you prefer. Once this is stamped, I'm going to emboss it with white embossing powder and then heat set that with my heat tool. I'm using some nice opaque watercolors here today and applying those with a water brush. A paintbrush and water will work just as well. I've been loving using my water brush lately, so that is what I'm going to use here. I like to lay down a little bit of water first in the area I'm going to apply color to, and then go ahead, pick up the watercolor and lay it down in that area and let the paint kind of move around as it will. One of the things that I love best about the embossed areas for watercoloring is they create kind of a well for the watercolor, and it will kind of help hold that watercolor in that area so that it doesn't migrate to other areas, as long as you don't get it too saturated. Many times I'll try to color like all of the green all at once and then move on to maybe all the yellow, then all the pink, etc. For this card, I'm moving sort of left to right, where there's a lot of overlapping and a lot going on behind those letters. I was a little bit afraid that I might get color one area the wrong color. Where it's white on white, it's a little bit hard to see. So I just cleaned off my paintbrush in between changing colors as I moved across this design. That kind of gives me a little bit more security in knowing I'm not going to accidentally color something wrong. For the yellow flower, I laid down the yellow first and then just put in a tiny bit of orange in around the center and let that migrate and work its way out. I did decide to go ahead, I wanted to try a letter. I knew I wanted to do something with my actual greeting and add a different color than what I was using for the flowers, and so this is a little aqua. I think it got a little dark, and so I went ahead and left it and worked on the rest of the flowers, and I'll come back to the greeting in a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and try to do some of the rest of the greenery real quick, laying down the water first, picking up some of that green color, and then laying it down. Here's some of the pink flower that kind of goes underneath the middle portion of this panel. I like to let my watercolors air dry quite a bit, but you can totally hit it with a heat tool if you want to and let it dry much quicker. As I work my way across here, you'll be able to see some of the flowers that I first colored are going to start drying, that orange flower especially, and I just love those watercolor lines in them. It's one of the things that is so impressive about watercolor, makes it so soft and pretty. This greeting is incredible, and I think it would look awesome colored with Copics, colored with Spectrum Noirs, colored pencils, distress inks, anything you have on hand, your favorite color mediums. It would look so amazing. I would love to try coloring this on craft cardstock with colored pencils. I think that would be really pretty as well. I kept to a really springy palette here with the florals. So I've got lots of oranges, yellows, and pinks with that nice bright mid green. And then my greeting is going to be in shades of aqua, but very, very light. I'm keeping the colors pretty opaque, but if you want to add or have them be a little bit more washed out, you can add just more water to the color, and it's going to give you a much, much lighter look. And you'll see that with the word hello. I'm going to make sure and do more of a wash of color where I lay down a nice layer of water over each letter first and only put a tiny hint of color and let that spread throughout the entire letter. So it's very nice and light. Missed a couple of areas here where that pink flower needs to go, so I need to fill that in real quick. Lay down that water now in the letter. I'm going to pick up just a tiny touch of aqua and spread it throughout. You'll see it a little bit better with the letter E. The Bristol cardstock tends to be a little bit more forgiving too. If part of the area has dried, you can kind of go back and add a little bit more color or blend it out with a little bit of water if you need to, which I really love, without the water or the paper pilling up too bad. Finish all of my letters. I'm going to set that aside to completely air dry. I'm going to apologize. This next little segment was filmed later, and for whatever reason my camera had trouble focusing. I'm trying out a different camera. I did leave this in because I wanted you to see the steps I took to create this card, but I apologize because this not being in focus drives me crazy. So I just wanted to again say I'm sorry that this is not in focus. On black cardstock, I stamped one of the additional greetings from Botanic Hello with Versamark ink, and I'm heat setting that with white embossing powder. I'll cut that into a nice thin strip and attach it underneath the word hello. There's also these great stitched lines from the Botanic Hello stamp set, and I think they will look great with lots of different stamp sets, but they really finish off the panel in this instance. I'm going to add these stitched lines across the top and the bottom and with black ink, and it's going to kind of complement the black in this stamped and embossed greeting strip. I think it'll help pick up some of that color, and it'll give a really nice finished edge to both the top and the bottom of this strip. When I hold it up a little bit, I think it's a little better in focus. I have no idea what happened. I wish I would have noticed this when I was filming it. I'm going to stamp those stitched lines off on my scrap paper a couple of times. With new stamp images, sometimes it's best to stamp them on a piece of scrap paper to make sure that they're going to stamp really nice and crisp. With these stitched lines, I wanted to make sure that I didn't have any faint areas in the stitching at all. I stamped it off several times. Then I'm just going to kind of hold my background paper down because it did curl up just a tiny bit with that watercoloring, and stamped my stitched lines. I've matted this whole panel on some black cardstock so it picks up the black from the greeting and the stitching, and then I'll back this entire piece with some foam adhesive and attach it to a white side fold card base right in the center of this for a really beautiful watercolored floral card. Have a little bit of overhang on one side, so trim that up with the scissors there. Make sure I get that nice and clean. I'll finish the card with a scattering of pearl gemstones. A few of them scattered throughout the card, and some of them adhered in the center of some of the flowers. These are a nice small embellishment. They mail really nicely because they don't stick up really high, and they're just a nice little finishing touch to any floral card. Thanks for joining me today for this floral watercolored hello card showcasing the Mama Elephant Botanic Hello stamp set. The supplies I used to create this card are listed and linked below the video here on YouTube. Please subscribe for weekly card making and stamping videos. Here are a couple more videos you might be interested in showcasing watercolored embossed images using Mama Elephant stamps. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time.